What's good, everybody? Welcome to the new premiere of The Big Ticket with Jerry Lee, Backyards Birds podcast, and myself, Vic3. This is a brand new show. Me and my guy, Jerry, we collaborated a couple of times. We get along well. We're friends. We're always chit-chatting in the DMs. And, we just thought it'd be great if we just collaborated and started this show here. So, Jerry, let them know. Let them know who you are and let them know where they can find you real quick.
Well, I think you already brought it out just fine. My name is Jerry Lee. I'm from Backyard Birds podcast. I got some shows with a few different people that we chat in the DMs with. One Trey Rock and my boy AK. We both got shows too. So on Friday nights we do the late night show. Me and AK, and Thursday nights me and One Trey Rock got a show. So check us out there.
Yeah, man. And you know who it is Victor. Like I said, you always see me in the chat. You see me on Twitter. You catch me with my guys, AK and Foothills, on the Eat Meets West podcast. After every game, I do my own podcast. It's the Vick3 Presents Eagles Post Game Panel Live. My guy here, Jerry Lee, is always on. But yeah, like I said, this is the big ticket where every week we're going to bring on a guest. We're going to go talk about, the opponent of the week, and we're going to bring on a guest from that side. So this week, we're facing off against the Redskins, and since it's our premiere, I thought, we should start off on a good foot. So what we did was, we brought former Sports Illustrated writer George Carmi on. So we're going to bring him on. We're going to discuss, the game that is this week against the Redskins. We're going to get into the rescheduling. We're going to get into the injury report. We're going to get into it all. So let me just bring my guy in without further ado. Here goes George Carmi. Let me see if I can add him on real quick. Hey, how we going, my guy? How we doing?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing today? You guys doing all right?
Oh, man, great to have you on, man. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate it. I love talking shop, man, all day long. So, how you guys doing?
Great. Really good, appreciate you for coming through, man.
No worries.
It's a premiere. You came through in a pinch. We reached out. We had a good conversation real quick, and let's get into it, my guy. We'll start off with the top story. The story that is. The NFL rescheduling the Eagles and Washington game to Tuesday. As a Washington fan, I'm pretty sure you heard all the complaints from the Eagles. You've seen it. Twitter was a buzz. It was trending. Eagles fans were livid. They were making it known. Even the Eagles players were making it known. We've seen Darius Slay make his comments. We've seen Rodney McLeod. Hell, we even seen Darius Slay's wife come out and comment.
I didn't catch that.
I talked to her, actually.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got that, yeah.
What did she say?
Well, I just said, we all got somewhere, we want to vent to somebody about this, and let the actual NFL know. Can you help us out? And, she started talking, so.
It's a tough situation, as I said, on our end, we're going to have a little bit of rest before the Giants game. I believe it's 3 days rest. We got to give you some time because, it seems like your team was on heavy on the COVID list through personnel and team players. And, there were some injuries also that, because of this move, it benefited the Redskins. But like I said, you heard our boo-hooing yesterday. You heard it today. Let me hear, a Washington football fan's perspective of this. What do you think about the rescheduling?
All right, sounds good, brother. So, I'll always keep it honest with you. I'm not one of those fans just kind of just here to talk smack and just, beef or anything like that. I'll keep it real with you guys. So, I empathize with you. I can see where you guys are coming from as fans. You guys are probably pissed off, right? Especially if you bought tickets for the game and you were planning on going there and planning on tailgating and, kind of, looking forward to that Sunday experience, right? So, I definitely see where you guys are coming from. Just being straight up with you, do I feel bad? Not necessarily, because guys, from a Washington fan, we've been we always get the short end of the stick all the time for years and years, as long as I can remember. So I'm like, you know what? It's the one time the NFL kind of throws us a bone, so I'll kind of take it. We went through this last year. I don't know if you guys recall, or I don't know if it's come up in the information circles, but basically last year the Ravens had a rampant COVID exposure and basically forced the Steelers game to move back a couple of days. We had to adhere to that. So it's kind of symmetrical now. It's like, last year we basically we had to move our game for the Ravens. We're Ravens then, because we were playing the Steelers, had no direct correlation, and then we had to fly over to play the 49ers like a couple of days later, I think even on a Thursday night. So we've been there before. So in regard to just am I upset about it? I'm not, I feel you guys. I feel like in regard to the players, fans I can empathize with. Players, I mean, I kind of feel like it's kind of being soft a little bit, guys. It's like, like if you go into playoff race, we're 6 and 7, we're trying to basically go head to head. Do you really want to play a 4th string quarterback who hasn't even this guy? We got him off the Patriots practice squad. He doesn't even stepped on Ashburn or our headquarters yet. So it's it really, if you're trying to keep the integrity of the game and keep competitive and balance, it really wasn't a fair matchup. And I think what ended up coming down to it was we had 25 players on COVID. Basically, there was talk of not even fielding a team, not even having 53. And what ended up happening was we either are going to forfeit the game, which would basically, according to NFL policy, would eliminate the rule, eliminate the game checks on both sides. So I think the NFLPA stepped in. Last thing I'm going to say, and then we can have a conversation, but last thing I'm going to say is that it was a lot of our players that are on the actual COVID list are all vaccinated. So I think that's why hopefully that's kind of breeds through with this conversation too. I see a lot of egos talk where, hey, you guys have violated protocol. Not necessarily all the guys are vaccinated. I see maybe 1 or 2 are not, but basically it was a breakthrough cases where they were vaccinated and they basically were put on the COVID list. So I think that's another reason why the NFL kind of threw us a bone there. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I heard it was Montez Sweat that actually was the one who came through with it, and he was not vaccinated.
Yeah, I'll be straight up with you. I'm not gonna lie. So we don't know where the actual spread come from, right? If you guys want some for the Eagles fans out there, here's some context for Montez Sweat. So Montez Sweat earlier, I'm sure you guys, I don't know if it got up to you guys in Philadelphia, but during the offseason, he was an adamant proponent against the COVID vaccinations, and he basically was like, hey, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this. I wanted to get some more research on it. He said something kind of ill-advised, not necessarily the most educated responses. So he wasn't vaccinated. One little caveat, just full context. I don't know if you guys remember, but Montez Sweat fell in the draft because he had a heart condition. They said he had an oversized heart and potentially he could have a chronic illness throughout his career. So, some people say that's the reason why he doesn't want his vaccination, but, we don't want to deep dive into his personal beliefs. Yes, I talked to Joe Castro the other day. If you kind of connecting the dots, yeah, Montez Sweat, he didn't have the vaccination, and then basically the defensive line gets ill, and it kind of spreads throughout the locker room. So you could easily point to Montez Sweat, but then again, who knows? It could have been a party that someone went to. It could have been a breakthrough case. We have no idea. But Montez Sweat would be the likely candidate, honestly. Just be straight up with you guys.
Yeah. Well, as an Eagles fan, for me, I don't think it matters if he was vaccinated or not, especially with his health condition. That's his personal decision, which is something that people need to understand. They are personal decisions. People need to do what's best for them. And if Montez Sweat felt like, not taking the vaccination was best for him, then, you got to respect that decision. Yeah. It's unfortunate that it went through like wildfire, basically. And it wasn't the Redskins, watch the football team.
I've been catching that Redskins the whole time. I love it, though. Keep coming. It's all good.
It's hard. It's hard. Same thing with the Raiders, man. They're always going to be open.
And Los Angeles Chargers for me, too. Or, sorry, San Diego Chargers. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. It's crazy. But go ahead.
But, yeah, it's his personal decision. It's unfortunate what happened to the team. But at the same time as, for us on our end, we're looking at it as our team. There is a COVID case with Quez Watkins. And our COVID, with the players, our COVID protocol was, strict enough that we haven't really had much of an issue with that. On our end, we're just looking at
one guy.
Yeah, we did what we needed to do. As for Washington, whatever the case, however it happened, the end of the day is they did it. And that's why we see it. And then again, when we look at it on our end, we're looking at short rest going against the Giants. And when you look at it for us, we're trying to get into the playoffs. So for you, I understand. Listen, if it was on our end, people got to understand. If it was us the other way around, we'd be happy. We'd be loving it. Just like any team fan would. You know what I mean? And
leg up.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, leg up in the competition. That it is what it is.
Yeah,
but the problem
is.
But the problem is, when they make a rule in the beginning, everybody should have to follow it. It's nothing. It's no slight against Washington. It's just that was the rule. And they should have stuck with it.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue, the hypocrisy behind it, because we understand, the NFL, they were saying that players are going to lose game checks, but we all know that's the reason they throw out to the players in order for them to play. The actual reality is the NFL is going to make billions of dollars because they're playing on Tuesday. They have 2 games on each coast. There's going to be sponsorship. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be tons of millions of dollars thrown into these 2 games. So the NFL actually benefits from rescheduling these games. We all know that's pretty much the main reason why they touched our game. For the Redskins, we all understand what the policy was, but at the end of the day, the Redskins could have fielded the team. What they could not have done was fielded their starters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the issue lies with us again, where you had a team, you had enough players. It's just the fact that you didn't have Terry McLaurin. Or now you don't have Heineken because now he is on the COVID list. I don't know the extent of where the policies were changed and what do you have to do to get it back on the field, but it looks like he's a definite to be out.
No, I'm with you.
No,
I was gonna say I'm with you guys. I mean, I'm not being a jerk about it at all. Like just to give your Eagles fans and you got some context going into the season, there was a hot topic in DC. So like Ron Rivera was like, "Hey, I'm immunocompromised. I suffered cancer last year. I broke through. Like, I'm upset with the fact that you guys basically are not being vaccinated. And you guys got to step it up a little bit." So I think at one point during the summer, we were one of the least vaccinated teams going into the season. But I think we had a sharp uptick near the end. But Montez Sweat was that one vocal. I'm not going to do it. Like, everyone else was like, it's my decision, whatever. But Montez Sweat is like, no, I'm not. And I think, just to be honest with you, he's been kind of villainized here in DC. Like, he's one of my favorite players. I love Montez. I think Montez Sweat is just as, just as great of an athlete as Chase Young, to be honest with you. But he is like Montez Sweat. If you ever look at our feeds, it's like, oh, like it's all his fault. And, like, they're turning on him too, which is kind of sad, So I don't know.
Yeah, it's that adage, it didn't age well. Those comments didn't age well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like I said before, and this is why I kind of give it on both ends, because like you're saying, a lot of Eagles fans go overboard and then they blame people. We're trying to make it so that everyone understands it's someone's personal decision, as you just heard it right now. And I guarantee a lot of Eagles fans didn't realize that he had that medical condition. It could have been something mentioned in the draft, but they didn't know the extent of it. So now when you look at that guy and you make those comments, you got to understand, had he had that vaccination or had he had something, that could have affected his life going forward. So, you really can't fault the guy for what he did. And like I said, it's unfortunate that so many people, they contracted it, they got sick. Hopefully they all, get fine. And it seems like on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to get a lot of guys back. So that's another point of contention today that came back. That everyone's upset. It's like, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, man, 100%. I don't know if you want me to dive into that now, but yeah, you're right. So basically going into so I've recorded a show, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday, and when all this stuff was breaking, and it was like going into this upcoming game, we basically had 5 of our top 6 defensive linemen were basically ruled out of the game. Basically, it was like they weren't going to play, most notably Jonathan Allen. And Jonathan Allen, I'm not sure if you guys really follow how hard you follow our team, but number 93, he's my favorite player on the team, and he's also defensive tackle, has 8 sacks this year. And he tested positive for COVID, but he outright said, "I'm vaccinated. I don't really know what's going on here." He was out. Then the only remaining starter was Deron Payne on the defensive line. Casey Toohill, which you guys are familiar with, and James Smith-Williams. They basically they tested positive for COVID like last week. They were supposed to come back anyway. Same thing with Montez Sweat. So they were supposed to come back, but now our defensive line is reloaded, which is actually I was talking to other pods. It's like, hey, your strength is running the ball. Our strength was having a defensive line. Now it's kind of a fair fight, where before you guys were going to just blow us out. So, the line got up to, I think, 12.5 points. You guys were heavily favored to win the game. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And, we understand, for me, I know I've JerryLee heard me say it 1,000 times. I didn't care who started, whether it was going to be the Washington's backups or it was going to be all their starters. Yeah. For us, or at least for me, I'm not giving the Eagles any excuse going into this game. If they're a team that wants to be a playoff team, then they're going to need to win this game, whether it's Jalen Hurts or whether it's Gardner Minshew start. Yeah. For me, there's no excuse. They need to come away with the win. Even though, it did look good for us sometimes, it looked like it was a cakewalk. But guess what? The NFL pulled the rug underneath us. We're moving it on to Wednesday. It is what it is. You got to move forward with it. The players now understand they're professional. They know that, they need what they need to do. Mm-hmm. On Washington's end, I know that they're very happy. The coaching staff is extremely happy because they're going to have more weapons available. But,
you bastards!
But as you were saying on the defensive line, you pretty much got that back. What about on the offensive side of the ball? What did you hear about Terry McLaurin? Because he had a concussion, he had an issue with his knee, I believe. Also, do you have any updates on him?
Yeah, so I was at the Cowboys game. I was watching the game live. You guys played him early in this season before kind of Market Parsons took that next step. Man, he's amazing live.
Ugh.
And dude, they just freaking black. So our all season long, our offensive line has been maybe top 5, top 8 in regard to like PFF rankings and pass protection. But dude, the Cowboys just ate us up, and it just was like it was a onslaught on Taylor Heineke. He walked away with a kind of a knee issue. They didn't really go deep into what the knee issue was. They said like I said, the bigger issue was probably his throwing elbow. He had an issue with his elbow. But walking away from the game Monday was like, hey, if he is healthy, he's going to be the one that actually he should be able to start for the game. But then he got tested for COVID, and and Kyle Allen got tested for COVID as well. And I think both of those, I think that's the major reason why without a quarterback, I think it kind of like had more of a glare on the team, like, in regard to moving the game. But what I'm hearing now is that basically Kyle Allen, he's vaccinated. So is Heineke. So they're both vaccinated. They just need 2 more negative tests to basically be approved. I hear Kyle Allen is under the threshold and, might have been a false positive. So I think he's projected to go. And, if Taylor Heineke comes, if Taylor Heineke should be able to come back too. It's all about the testing, but I think Kyle Allen will be the guy that's going to be line up against you guys on Tuesday.
Sounds good. Now, as you said for Heineke, with that COVID, and I believe he had a concussion also, correct?
Not Heineke. McLaurin had a potential concussion, and McKissick had a potential concussion. One of those 2 guys. And I can touch on them if you want me to. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. By all means.
So yeah, McLaurin's like I love that guy. I don't know how if you guys have him on your fantasy team or tracking him. Like I kind of feel, but to say McLaurin's man, whatever. I'm not trying to sell my guys on you at all, but like he's legit, man. He's like I actually feel bad for the guy because we have like a merry-go-round at the quarterback position, and like if he truly had a marquee quarterback, he would be more respected around the league. But he is a grinder. He's one of those guys that blocks and plays special teams and goes across the middle, and he's legit. And I love the guy. What happened was, and we'll talk about this with the quarterback, Taylor Heineke doesn't have the strongest arm. And what ended up happening was he kind of threw like a rainbow pass to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin was wide open on a 9 route, had to turn around and jump up and get it, try to get it, got slammed on his back and basically hit his head, potential concussion. And now it's scary because basically that's our wide receiver 1. He had full participation in practice today. So take that for what it's worth. He might be able to maybe by Tuesday he'll be able to play, but it's interesting. We had another player last week, I think McKissick, who basically he was a full participant, but then they ruled him out of the game. So we'll see. I think Terry McLaurin should be projected to play.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question because as a Washington fan, you've seen Antonio Gibson this whole season. For me, like he's another guy I have on fantasy, but the reason why I chose Terry this year because listen, for Eagles fans, we understand what he is. We get it. The fact that he hasn't had a quarterback. I look at him kind of like a D-Hop in a way. He's a guy who can still perform no matter who's behind center. But if you were giving someone, he would explode. He'd be off the charts. And
it's like Smith.
Yes. And we respect him because around here we only call him Scary Terry. You don't ever hear anyone call him Terry McLaurin or just say McLaurin. It's always Scary Terry. So like Philadelphia fans, they always respect him in his game. But when I was mentioning Antonio Gibson, for me, like I find him, like he's an amazing player for the fact that he's been playing with a fractured leg, for the early part of the season. I think it was till maybe like week 10. That's when it finally healed, and you've seen his performance. It's increased. Let me hear a little bit of something about him. What do you think about Antonio Gibson?
I'm with you, man. You nailed it. So real quick on McLaurin, I think if McLaurin was on your team, you guys would love him. He's that blue collar Philadelphia mindset. You guys, he's like that Hines Ward, that blocking guy. McLaurin's a beast, man. I love McLaurin. Going on to Gibson. Gibson has been up and down all year. I actually have him on my fantasy team, and he is very frustrating. He's like one game he'll pop, one game he'll be absent, won't really do anything. The big thing with him, as you mentioned, was a fracture in his shin. I think that kind of left him, took away some of his explosiveness. He's a pretty big guy. Like if you look at him, you might not realize it, but he's like 6 foot 230. So he's like, and he runs like a 4.3, 4.4. So he used to be a wide receiver in college. I don't know if you guys know that. So basically, he has those receiving skills, and he's supposed to be almost like an Aaron Jones kind of kind of like one of those hybrid backs. And when he does, when he's blocking well, he can't explode. Like if you go back to the Buffalo Bills game, he caught a screen and took it 80 yards. It was awesome. But I think he was injured for most of the year. I think that kind of took away his explosiveness. And I think what happened is, I agree, I think he got healthy, as you talked about with after the bye. But we also kind of changed our concepts too. We used to be like more of like a power running team, or like our linemen were like, just grab the man in front of you, kind of push him and move him back. But now we're kind of moving with like more of like a zone scheme, which suits him. Like watch the game on Tuesday. Like if Curtis Samuel plays, which I don't think he will, is that we do a lot of like jet sweep motions where one wide receiver run behind the quarterback, like fake the handoff, but like that just kind of shifts the linebacker. We do a little zone blocking, and then a hole opens up and Antonio Gibson pops through. So if we're going to win the game, if it's going to be competitive, I really do think that it's going to be on Gibson. We rode him to a 4-game winning streak, and if you guys shut him down, it's going to be a long day for our team. So he is up and down. He's our workhorse, and he's the reason why we win. So hopefully he has a big game on this Tuesday.
I heard was it him that had the fumbling problem?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that was also another one. So he's had 6 fumbles this year. 6 fumbles actually came out of his hands. 3 that were lost. But basically, it is an issue. Like in Washington, it's always like it's the talk of the town. Basically, he does it in really bad situations too. Like fortunately for you guys, it'll be like our own. We get a turnover, interception. Time to capitalize. We'll be in our red zone, fumbles it, and you guys are right there on the 15-yard line or something. He's done that a couple of times. Like he lost the Chargers game early this year. The Cowboys game was I don't know if you guys saw it, pretty close to the end, like 27-20. And then basically we got the ball back. We were going to score, and he fumbles, and they give it to the Cowboys, game over. So he does do that. So what's happened over the past month is when he fumbles, Ron Rivera has a Bill Belichick mindset where it's like you're going to be on the bench for a quarter. It kind of benches him for a little while, and that kind of that limits his stats too. So yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned McKissick earlier with the injury.
Yeah.
Can you talk about him, because I also think that's another guy who's been playing well. And you also mentioned about Antonio Gibson being a former wide receiver. Could you just touch on, because I know for the Redskins, they don't really use Gibson as a receiving back. That's more McKissick's forte for whatever reason. Could you elaborate on why they do that?
Yes, I'll break it down. So basically, Gibson came out from Memphis. He was a beast, man. He was, wide receiver from Memphis, and we thought he was going to be that all-world back. Can do everything. The saying was, and don't kill me for this, Christian McCaffrey, come from Carolina. We're going to kind of use him on the outside and kind of, drag routes and use him as a wide receiver as well. What ended up happening was when he first came to Washington last year as a rookie, they had him go to two different, the wide receiver room and the running back room. He basically was he was oversaturated with information. They're basically where do I put him? So he took him away from the wide receiver room, put him in the running back room. I think this year he was supposed to kind of explode and all right, now you're the main dog and you're going to we're going to focus on you. But I think that injury set him back. So I think they're just kind of limiting his touches just to more of the running back role. And McKissick's pretty good, man. He's actually a pretty good third down back. He'll be that guy that McKissick can pass protect better than Gibson too. So I think that's another reason why. So McKissick will be there on third downs and catching the ball. So I think he kind of sucks up some of his pass routes.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question, because
he played last week. I was like, oh my God,
yeah, I was thinking you asked Wendell Smallwood. That's hilarious. But let me ask you a question about the quarterback, because I know early in the season, you all thought that you were going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick. The injury happens. He's out for the season. And then Ron Rivera moves over to Heineke, and he doesn't give a thought to a free agent quarterback. Mm-hmm. As a Washington fan, what did you think about that? Because as for us, I know we'd be going crazy. If you're going to tell us we're just going to go with an unknown backup who had a decent playoff game, but we're just going to go with him all season. Listen, Philadelphia would be wild right now. It'd be riots in the street.
Yeah.
For you, how did you handle that, my guy?
It's been a hot topic, man. Taylor Heineke is super polarizing around here in DC, and I imagine the same thing for Jalen Hurts for you guys, right? I feel like Jalen Hurts is more athletic and kind of has more of that upside than Heineke does. But it was very hot topic. So Fitzpatrick came in. We have this one group in DC called the Heineke Hive. They love him out there. There's people they love him. They love Heineken Hive. They love him out here, and they basically they'll they'll basically fight over his stats regardless of what happened. Oh, like, he didn't have a touchdown because of the offensive line or because of the wide receiver couldn't do anything. Like, I'm sure you guys catch that with Hurts sometimes and stuff like that. So basically, there is a contingent that loves him. There is a contingent that loved Cam Newton. They're like, hey, why don't we, the Carolina connection, when we bring Cam Newton in when Fitzpatrick went down, as we see, obviously no one knows Cam Newton better than Ron Rivera, and he obviously saw something, right? So Cam Newton really isn't doing much, so we got to give Ron Rivera a tip to cap there. But Heineke hasn't been too bad, man. He kind of like, I don't think he's my franchise quarterback. I think I'm happy with him for this year, but I love the fact that he just shows like he has balls, for lack of a better word, man. He's like, he just plays hard. He dives for extra yards. He'll slide. Like if a linebacker hits him, he'll stand up and talk smack to the linebacker. Like he's a guy that you want on your team. And I think the players kind of rally around him, but there are limitations that basically kind of, you can tell he's not going to be that like long-term quarterback for us. But yeah, I wish we could, I wish we could have a free agent, but it is what it is.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. I know that's his mentor. I know him and Brett are close. He wears the number 4 just like Brett. The only issue is he doesn't have Brett's arm.
No,
but yeah,
it's not
definitely doesn't have that arm.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
But the kid got his moxie. He has confidence, which is something that a lot of quarterbacks need. And for a lot of them, that confidence gets him through. And you see, I think he's one of those guys. Confidence really gets through to that kid. And
he does.
Like you said, he is a polarizing guy. He kind of reminds me of how you're saying how the fans look at him, kind of like how some fans look at Minshew. No matter what, they'll go to the back
They're very
room.
Similar players. I can see that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they haven't seen much out of him, but they feel like he could be the guy that we need. Mm-hmm. But for us on our end, we had some updates also.
Yeah,
yeah, we got. Looks like Lane Johnson has a back issue. Lane Johnson got rest. Patrick Johnson had a back issue. Kelsey, the ankle. Nelson with the shoulder, and Sanders, we all know with the ankle. But it looks like they're all going to play. Now, the only one that I don't know is Quez Watkins, because that still remains to be seen. He still needs a negative test. I think, 24 hours before the game? I think that's what the new protocol is. I don't know if it's 2 or 1.
Because the other day was it was 2 negative tests within 48 hours. So I don't know if it's changed over the past day or two. I have no idea. But that's what I heard before.
Yeah, so it looks like for all intents and purposes, the Eagles are a full go. They had some limited participation in practice, but everyone's going to be in there except for Watkins, and we'll see how that goes. Let me get your thoughts on Washington, and what do you think they're going to be facing when they play the Eagles on Tuesday?
So what do you mean in regard to like competition, like lining up, or like strengths and weaknesses? What are you asking?
Just Washington, where they're currently at right now. And what do you see coming out of it, like against the game, like going into it?
Gotcha. So it's all going to be dependent on our quarterback, man. It's going to be very interesting. I think our defense is going to be pretty sound. Our defensive line. Our winning formula has been running the ball and then playing sound defense. We went away from playing man defense, more of a zone defense, and I think that will actually serve us well going against you guys because Jalen Hurts runs so much. Like earlier in the year, we basically had more of a man coverage where we played Josh Allen, we played a bunch of mobile quarterbacks, and let's say wide receiver on a 9 or man cornerback would turn around and run behind him and basically leave a wide open gap for the quarterback to run. So what we've been doing now is playing zone, kind of staying more sound and kind of looking ahead. So maybe that'll work against Jalen Hurts. So our D-line's going to be okay. Returning with Montez Sweat, we actually have a little bit of teeth to our pass rush again. Like over the last month, Montez Sweat hasn't played since October 31st, so we didn't really have any pass rush. We had Casey Tuhill and James Smith-Williams, who's a 7th rounder, so they were like sound run defenders, but they weren't necessarily like impactful pass rushers. So we might have a little bit of a pass rush back. Just to be, get through you guys in Nugget. Our linebackers aren't the best. We have Cole Holcomb, 55 is pretty good. Jamin Davis is a rookie in the first round and really hasn't shined yet. So our defense will be okay. We're missing our top corner, Kendall Fuller. So you guys might have an advantage over there. And Landon Collins has been playing pretty good. I don't know if you guys have been following him, but we started him off as almost like a free safety at the beginning of the year, which was not his position. He was getting burnt, but now they have him more as like a hybrid linebacker, almost like we call Buffalo nickel. So he's kind of playing by the line, and he's kind of like a honey badger kind of position now. Like he'll cover the tight end or kind of blitz, and he's doing pretty good there. So defense should be okay because they really aren't missing too much. It's going to come down to who our quarterback's going to be and who our what weapons do we have on offense? So we'll touch on that. So Curtis Samuel, he's been a free agent bust for us. We were really excited about him. We thought he'd be more of an explosive player. He played maybe 5 games all year, like limited snap counts. He played 14 plays against the Cowboys and hurt his hamstring. So I think he's going to be out this week. McLaurin's legit. And then let's take a look. Our offensive line's finally becoming healthy again. We basically were down for a while, but we're on our 5th center. So keep that in mind. So if you guys are going to take advantage of it, attack the middle of our offensive line. And then our quarterback, Heineke will ball. He's not going to – Heineke will he's awesome. Like his strength is basically he knows the offense he came from Carolina to DC. So he knows the offense inside and out. So those 5-7 yard quick throws he's good at. If you guys can kind of make him flustered and blitz him and, create chaos, that's where he'll struggle. Or if you start falling behind by like 10, 14 points, that's when we'll struggle too. And then, so if he plays, that's the dynamic for you guys. And finally, if Kyle Allen plays, who knows what the hell's going to happen, because maybe he hasn't played for us in a year and a half. And he supposedly knows the offense as well. He's supposed to be Heineke with a bigger arm, but people love Kyle Allen. I think Kyle Allen's like a career backup. I'm not too confident in him, so I'll rather have Heineke out there.
maybe Gilbert Grape.
Dude, who the hell is this guy? Yeah, see what happens there. So, yeah, if that happens, you guys are winning by 14. But so go ahead. Right. We'll see what happens.
Allen played pretty well when he was with Rivera with the Panthers. That's why I brought him over. I think when they first started out, Kyle Allen was your starter at first.
And I think you asked that question before. Why didn't we get a free agent quarterback? I think because we had Kyle Allen as a backup, Heineke. We wanted to see what happened in regard to what happened with the playoff game. And Fitzpatrick wasn't supposed to be gone for the year. It's supposed to be gone like 6 to 8 weeks. So I think we're kind of like hanging on to that, and it didn't work out.
He might retire.
I think so.
Oh. Let me ask a question, because you're from last year. Your defensive line, that front four, was fierce. They were getting at it, and they were getting home. Now, when you come into this season, it changes. They don't look the same. But then you have the injury to Chase Young, and then the defensive line, gets back to work. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? What's going on with your defensive line this year? There's a lot of ups and downs.
So this is my theory, and I think what happened was Jack Del Rio basically, he knows he had 2 good players in Montez Sweat and Chase Young, right? And basically what he wanted to do is he was playing a lot of, like I said before, man. He's playing man defense and letting those front 4 just freelance. He's like, you know what, Sweat and Young, this is your year to kind of take a step forward and kind of explode and do what you need to do. And I think it wasn't creative. It wasn't dynamic enough. I think, other teams going against us were like, all right, we know Chase Young's here. We know Montez Sweat's here. We're going to chip Chase Young, or we're going to double block, we're going to block Chase Young. We're going to double him on the right side. And I think at one point he was like, there's stats behind it. Chase Young was chipped about 35% of his snaps. And I don't think he's that developed in his career to basically counter that. So he was kind of like, just wash him outside, and the quarterback could do whatever he could. I think what happened when they went down, Jack Del Rio was like, all right, crap, I don't have the horses anymore. What I'm going to do is be more wise. I'm going to try to scheme. I'm going to be more dynamic, have them be more sound. And I think it's funny. The coaching got better, and I think the players got better. So they're not necessarily Jonathan Allen's probably our best pass rusher coming through the middle of the line. So he has 8 sacks this year. I think he's going to the Pro Bowl this year. So keep it out for him. But I think the coaching, and I think the lack of playing more disciplined ball is why Washington's line got better.
Yeah, because they have been playing better ever since he's been gone. And I think it's kind of sad when you hear a coach, because we've had the same issue with our running game. Mm-hmm. We have Miles Sanders, and because of his injury, the coach has to get creative. And you see now, I think we're 2nd or 3rd in the league in rushing. Yeah. It's only when coaches are forced to do what they need to do that they show out. When if they did that all along, who knows? Maybe that player would have been injured. That it could have been a different tale. But I wanted to ask you something about Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
He's very beloved in Washington. We all know his first season. He came in and he was a little sick. Thankfully, he got over that. He's well, but he endeared himself to that city. But for us on the outside, like I talked about the quarterback, when he makes those decisions, does that get overlooked, or are you fine with Rivera? What is a Washington Redskins? How do they look at it? Washington football team fans. How do they look at Ron Rivera?
So I'm just like Philadelphia fans. They're all walks of life, man. They're all over the place, right? So some fans are basically like, yo, Ron Rivera is a legend. Ron Rivera is, he's the one authentic guy that we have. Most people don't like our owner around here, don't like the front office in the past. So we're like, you know what? He's
For
kind of
good reason.
Yeah, for good. Of course, I agree with you. But he's basically like more like creating stability and more like creating like a genuine climate there. I'm team Ron Rivera. Like I think for me, give him the keys, let him clean all this mess up. I think we were lucky to have him.
Yep.
To be honest with you, like it's hard to, like if we fired Ron Rivera after like 1 year, it would have been like, dude, we're gonna have to get like a college coach to come to DC because no one's gonna want to be here. Like, that's kind of where my perspective was. But there was a contingent where they're like, oh, we don't have a quarterback. It's Ron's fault. Like, we should have drafted Justin Herbert as opposed to Chase Young. We should have there's all that kind of like hindsight 2020 vision. Like it was great when we were 2-6. There was talk. There's a contingent, not a large one, but fire Ron Rivera, get rid of him. The game's passed him by. I'm like, dude, you got a while, dude. Like he's in a we need someone like him to create like stability because it's been so chaotic for years and years. That's the way I feel at least.
Yeah, I like Ron Rivera, man. He's a really good coach. As a matter of fact, he's the one piece of your team that makes you guys, have competition.
I agree. I think him and Del Rio. So Del Rio's a pretty good, he's not necessarily a good head coach, but he's a good defensive coordinator. So it's like having good coaches basically creates stability in DC when we've have turnover. We had Jay Gruden before. He's an okay offensive coordinator, but he's like not a good leader of men. And he's like, kind of like sloppy. And it's like, he doesn't grind. Ron Rivera's a grinder and he's more of like he's like a military mindset. It's like, I don't know if you guys look it up. It's actually pretty cool. And you guys probably don't care because you're Eagles fans, but like, he basically has this motto going right now is calling us like David versus Goliath. And it's like throw the stone. I don't know if you guys have caught that yet, but basically like everyone, we were 2-6, we were playing the Buccaneers. So it was like, dude, we're like, everyone's counting Washington out. He had a speech about David versus Goliath, said throw the stone. And we beat the Buccaneers. Now for every game, he basically gives a stone to what happened was, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but what happened was before that game, he basically got a sticky note on every single seat in the locker room. He had a quote from the Bible, something really like epic about, with one stone, David knocked out Goliath or something along those lines. And basically that's been our motto since then. We knock off the Buccaneers and let's say we win the game or we win the next game, watch Washington social media. It'll be like they'll give the rock to a player, they'll throw the stone inside the locker room and everyone gets riled up, which is pretty cool. So it's like it's pretty awesome. Like it's kind of cool that like, we have a motto and Ron Rivera is that kind of guy. So I agree with you, man. I think he is the calming presence in a pretty chaotic organization. So I'm happy to have him.
Yeah, for me, Ron Rivera is someone I've always looked up, member of the 85 Bears, great linebacker. He came through with the Eagles. That's how he came up. Mm-hmm. So, we all know all about Ron and, he's had success in Carolina. There were some things, a lot of us felt sad that he was let go from Carolina. Mm-hmm. And, I had nothing but respect, especially him being the only Puerto Rican head coach in the NFL. So, Ron Rivera is someone, I've always looked up to. I admire him. I always wish success again, when it's not against us.
Always. The other 15 games. Yeah, I got you, man.
Yeah. Like, on this end, we always got love for Rivera. We respect the guy. We know he's a great coach and he's a great man above all else. Mm-hmm. He's a great family guy too. But yeah, now on our end, what are your thoughts about the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, as a Washington fan, how did you see us coming into this season and how you see us going into Tuesday?
Yeah, so I'm gonna check the receipts on Twitter, man. Actually, I thought highly of you guys. I really did. Like, I wasn't like talking trash. Like, I'm a fan of the NFL. Like, I'm a diehard DC guy, but like going into the season, I basically had the Cowboys going 10-7. I thought that Dak Prescott was going to make a difference coming back. I had Washington to 8-9, and I thought we were going to be like a better team. Like, our offense would got a little bit better with Fitzpatrick. Our defense would like take a step back because we had a really strong, like we had the division winner schedule this year. So we played like the Chiefs and we had a lot of great teams. So I thought we would go back to 8-9. I had you guys at 7-10 and the Giants at 7-10 is what I had you guys going into the year. And I think I'm pretty spot on in regard to like, big picture wise. I think the Eagles are better than some Washington fans want to say. I think it's going to be pretty like That's why I'm like you guys. Like I know you guys are pissed about the whole moving the game back, but I think it's going to be more fun. I think it's going to be more competitive with a fair battle. Like if you guys beat our butt, beat our asses or beat our butts, whatever, with the whole the intramural squad, then I think it wouldn't have been hard to even tune in. But I think we are pretty evenly matched teams. What I'm looking for now, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I can see that you guys going to probably have, it's gonna be a lot of running against us. I think maybe an explosive play here or there, but it's going to be Jalen Hurts. A lot of like dialed up. Like if Jalen Hurts plays, a lot of
I think it's going to be Minshew.
You think it's going to be Minshew? Yeah. So so we'll go back and forth. If Hurts plays, I think it's going to be more of like. Tell me if I'm wrong. Almost like a Lamar Jackson kind of offense, where it's going to be running the ball a lot. Leaning on Jordan Howard, maybe just kind of depending on Boston Scott and Miles Sanders a little bit. Working from the inside out, and then I would be fearful of your pass rush. Like, would you guys create chaos with us? Maybe we throw a bad pick to Darius Slay or something like that. That's what my vision of it. Minshew. Some people have said. That would be even worse because Minshew can actually like throw the ball consistently.
Yep.
And he's almost like playing a Heineke. Like, this guy's gonna run around and freaking take his helmet off and go nuts. We have no idea what he's gonna do. And that's kind of that's how I've envisioned Minshew. But is that pretty accurate, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, he's like the guy that runs around with his head on fire.
Exactly.
What I mean?
That's how Heineke
he's
is.
awesome.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to watch, right? So yeah. So
but he is the backup.
Are you guys pro Minshew or are you guys pro Hurts, or how do you guys feel?
I'll let you start off, Jim.
See how I do with it, huh? I'm still in the camp. I'm seeing where Jalen Hurts goes.
Okay,
you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to say he's the guy. Like, I like his athleticism, but he's not accurate all the time. You know what I mean? And when we see Minshew come in, he was accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have the biggest arm, but he's still, he's an accurate quarterback. That's, that's the position.
Is Hurts inaccurate? That's his big knock, right? He's inaccurate. That's
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He has inaccuracy, especially when he's going with the deep ball. Okay. That's the biggest issue right there with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the problem with that is Smith is a deep threat kind of guy. You know what I mean? He'll do the crossing routes up the top and everything. That kind of sucks because we don't get to see the best playability out of him.
Yeah.
But
so you have an explosive over-the-top wide receiver without a quarterback that can do that, which is funny because they played together, right? Didn't they played together at Alabama at some point? Right. I know they might miss each other. Okay, interesting. Okay.
I heard
we're good friends.
I heard a little tussle that was said, when Jalen left the team, that they said they was glad he was gone because he couldn't get the ball to him.
Oh, geez. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a little interesting take. But, I still want to go with Hurts if he's healthy. You know what I mean? Because I think he gives us a better chance to win, because the team actually likes him. You know what I mean? So I could go either way.
Pause.
Pause.
Yeah, right. Like you said with me, man, you can check the receipts. As far back as last season, I felt that the Eagles should have brought Gardner Minshew in, not to be a starter, because I knew that, going forward in the way with a new coach, looking at, Hurts, him being a rookie now going into his second season, he had a pretty good, 4 games?
Yeah.
So I knew they were going to give him an honest look, but I felt that he needed competition. And I felt Joe Flacco wasn't the competition because we all know what Joe Flacco is.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's going to try to start and he does what he wants when he's on the field. Yeah. He's not a guy trying to mentor anybody. Mm-hmm. But I knew that, mentors for the most part, that's not really looked at in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So they're going to want competition. And I thought there was no one better in the league than Gardner Minshew to come in so that way he can compete. Not necessarily start and take over and be the franchise, just to compete, just to have someone breathing down Jalen's neck. I think every team should have that. You only breed better players with competition. Yeah, iron 100%. Only sharpens iron.
Yeah, 100%.
So like that was my thing. And a lot of fans, hey, they talked about me saying I'm crazy. They said it was a dumb move. But yet a lot of people didn't even expect it. And during the season, JerryLee, you can attest, I'm still hollering saying, hey, bring Minshew in here. The Jaguars don't need him. Yeah, it did
It
exactly.
doesn't hurt, right? We have when Hurts goes down, you have a reasonable backup to step on up, right? So, I mean, I'll let you finish. My third person perspective is I like Hurts. I mean, if I were you guys, I would be rooting for him. I think the athletic upside's there. If you can kind of hone him in and make him his fundamentals and his footwork down with his passing game, that's high upside. So I would definitely go with him there. I do think Minshew is Heineke pretty much. Is like, that's like accurate guy, not a huge arms, just kind of balls to the wall. And that's why we like him over here. And that's like, I could see either one of you guys would fall, depending on who plays better, you guys would fall in love with him. So I can see that there. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, for me, like I was saying, when he came in, I felt that all you needed was a low draft pick to bring him in, which played out. And I actually said a first round pick. They got him for the first round. It's something that makes sense because you notice a team that has no need for that quarterback. They want to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. You see a team that could possibly use a backup, and you want a starting quality player. Minshew was the guy. It made perfect sense. But now that we got him in here, like I said, it was only for competition. And if Hurts was injured, we had a quality backup to take over. And someone who was somewhat similar. I'm not saying that he is Jalen Hurts but he's a guy who can run around the pocket. He's a guy who can get it downfield. He's a winner, just like Jalen. He's a competitor. He's fiery. He gets in there and he's a great leader.
Yeah.
But I
Uncle
think
Rico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, listen,
Uncle
everybody
Rico.
loves Uncle Rico.
That's awesome. I love that. That's perfect. Hell yeah.
You understand right now as we're doing this podcast, there are men trying to grow out their mustache just so they can get the whole half-man chew.
Is he still kind of slimy like that? I haven't seen him in a while. I saw like the preseason and I saw like the mullet.
It's kind of down. He'll get it a little further as the season goes.
Cool.
But yeah,
that's fun. I like that.
I know he hears the fans, and I know he's going to go back to it fully. But the fans are following him too. There's guys out there growing it right now as we speak. Like they're hoping
that's awesome. I mean, hell yeah. Sports, man. Sports make you do some crazy things, man. That's why we're all here. It's hell yeah. That's awesome. I love that.
Heck yeah, and especially Philadelphia, man. Like the backup quarterback is the most popular guy in the city.
Same in DC, yeah. You know what that's the same thing in DC. Like the adage is if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. It's pretty much what it comes down to, unfortunately. And like DC, man, for years and years and years, it's always that backup quarterback, Kirk Cousins. We have Heineke now, and it's whatever. It's year after year. It's frustrating until you get that one guy. It's always going to be a debate, but it's fun, man. It's football talk.
For me, it definitely is frustrating because I've always thought that this should be an evaluation season for the whole team and coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because for us, our enemy number one on our coaching staff, it used to be Nick Sirianni, and that target has moved to Jonathan Gannon. And
I heard that's what I've been hearing all week long, man. I've been hearing that. I was surprised by that. So I want you guys to tell me about Sirianni because I don't really know anything about him, but I've heard Gannon's been crushed. I heard he's like hot seat, might get fired at the end of the year, and that's interesting to me.
Jerry, I'll let you start with the coach and with Sirianni, and then with Gannon, let you follow up with
that. Well, we'll take it back to the beginning of the season. At first, both coaches came out and, they talked a good game, and they were talking about, using the players to their strengths. And, the first game we had, it looked really good. I mean, we were really sharp against the Falcons. But after that game, it was like pretty much downhill. And, Nick started talking about Flowers and crazy stuff, and he was really not good on interviews and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But 6 games in, he started turning it around, and he started to develop, with the players. Mm-hmm. And now he's a good coach now. You know what I mean? Like, he's good with the players. Like, the players really like him a lot. Even with his crazy sayings and, the rock, paper, scissors. yeah. All his things, he's all right, man. Besides, and I think he started to learn too not to talk so much. You know what I mean? Like in interviews, Yeah. But the whole Gannon thing is bad, man. Because he's like a roller coaster. He just can't get it right. He gets the linebackers to play too far off coverage, and he doesn't fill the gaps with the linebackers sometimes. And he'll go back to doing that, but then he'll have a good game where he's, blocking the holes with the, the linebackers and getting the cornerbacks to play press and man, that's when we have great games. But you'll notice like during some of the games now too, he'll come off, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not good, man. Like he needs to tighten his game up.
Okay. So he's getting out coached. What you guys are saying, like he'll start off with a strategy, then not necessarily stick with it.
Yeah. And he's not that aggressive. Like
Okay.
with Sirianni at the beginning of the season, I'll echo some of the things that JerryLee said. He had issues, but for me, I thought it was a great move because of where he came from, his relationship with Frank Wright, and what he would bring to the Eagles. For me, it was kind of like a younger version of Frank.
Yeah.
Not saying that he's exactly like him, but it was a younger version. It was someone who we could look to in the future. But like Jerry said, when that first press conference came out, he stumbled. Yeah, it's understandable. It's your first time in front of the spotlights. But then it became something that's kind of like he keeps on talking, and it's like I don't know if he's one of those guys who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room,
Yeah.
and he just keeps it going, or is he just a nervous person?
Yeah.
And then when you look at his coaching style, it's up and down. He's
Yeah.
making like he's calling plays. I remember it was the Raiders game when there was a penalty, and he took it, which was the great. We get a fourth down. They're about to punt, and then he takes it back. Then the Raiders get a first down. I think there was like a 25-yard play right after that. They get a first down. Like those little mistakes, he would constantly make. But as the year went on, he cleaned them up. And like I said before, with the injury to Miles, it forced him to reevaluate this offense and what we needed to be. And everybody was harping. We need to run the ball. We need to run the ball. And it's kind of like he finally understood. You need to run the ball. And ever since then, I'm not going to say it's been smooth sailing. There's been a couple of hiccups, but he's gotten a lot better. Especially going forward. Like for me, I'm happy going into next season with Nick Sirianni.
Cool.
I think that he's improved enough where I think next season he's going to take the next step. As for Coach Gannon, we have not seen any consistencies out of him. Every week we're always talking about we'll get pressure sometimes, but we never get home. Or like JerryLee saying, the linebackers playing too far back, the receivers, how we're playing. It's he doesn't want to give up the big play, and it's understandable. He's a DB's coach. That's his mindset. Don't give up the big play. Give up everything small. But what you don't understand is if you're constantly giving up chunks, eventually it's going to get them home too.
Yeah.
So he has to understand that he needs to be aggressive at times. He doesn't have to worry so much about giving up the big play. You got to follow the defense. You need to make good adjustments. He's not great at that either. So with him, I don't see any improvement as the season goes on. So I don't feel like there's a need to continue with him. I think it's best that we look out to a veteran defensive coordinator, some guy who can come in here with a good scheme and, get with players, player friendly. Like with Houston, AKA my guy always says he loves Lovie Smith. And Lovie Smith is the perfect defensive coordinator that you would want. If there's a guy out there, hell, if Marvin Lewis would feel so humble to come back to be a defensive coordinator, I would welcome it. Because, again, and when you think about it, that's a guy with head coaching experience.
Seth Joyner.
He's another guy, but I think he'd be better as a position coach, linebacker coach. But, Marvin Lewis is a guy that Sirianni could bounce off ideas. And it's someone who understands what Sirianni's going through. No one else better than Marvin Lewis.
I think, I agree with you. Marvin, we have that dynamic here in DC with Del Rio. It's nice to have head coaches that fall back into their specialized role, because sometimes basically that if you were a head coach, you might be overwhelmed. There's too many moving parts for you and whatever it is, right? So like if you cut your teeth in defensive coordinating, you go back to it like Jack Del Rio, Marvin Lewis. Those guys are specialized and elite at that level. So, he could provide some stability for your coach, for Sirianni when he needs to. And just little, just give you some full closure. Like went back with DC when Ron Rivera was out with cancer, Jack Del Rio actually stepped up. Like, he would lead some of the meetings, he would do some of the press conferences and stuff like that. It's nice to have that, like that veteran. It's almost like a backup. It's nice having that veteran presence in the locker room to help you out when you need to, So it was good.
Yeah, I always think for GMs, that's something that should be a prerequisite if you're having a new coach.
I agree.
You need to have your defensive coordinator be a former coach, a guy who can bounce up ideas, a guy who, when the coach is feeling stressed, say, hey, listen, I've been here before. Let's talk about it. Every new coach should have that guy. And I don't think they should go in picking their friends, because that's where a lot of coaches come into problems, when you're constantly going to bat for a friend and not going off of their production. That's only going to hurt your team, and that's going to hurt your positioning with the team. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get fired. You're going to get let go.
Yeah.
the NFL is a "what have you done for me lately" league. So the coaches got to understand that. But going forward, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What do you think are the 5 keys for Washington to come away with a victory?
Okay, so the 5 keys. Okay, let's break it down. So for one, definitely we got to establish a run. We basically have to if the way we've been winning the game, right? The past 4, like our winning form has been this, and I guess these are going to knock off like 2 or 3 of the keys. we have to establish a run. Antonio Gibson, basically, if he gets good 20, 25 carries and, he gets to 100 yards, if Gibson gets to 100 yards, then I think Washington's going to win the game. I think that's going to basically then that's going to play right into our hands for what we want. We want to basically control the clock. We want to keep your offense off the field, and we want to limit turnovers, right? So I think that's going to basically be our big thing. Gibson, Heineke, I love the guy, but basically he started 11 games for us so far, and he had a turnover, at least one turnover, whether a fumble or interception, in 8 of them. And then basically in 4 of them, he's had basically a 2 turnover game. We lost all of those, right? So basically we're gonna have to play it close. That's the name of our game. So limiting turnovers for one, no interceptions from Heineke would go a long way for us. Establishing the run with Antonio Gibson will be huge. We got to basically, take care of that. The reason why we lost last week and kind of went astray from our winning formula was protecting the line and protecting the quarterback, right? We got to make sure that you guys basically don't create too much disruption. If Heineke can stand up and basically not be disheveled all game, I think he can do a good enough job to kind of move the ball up and down the field. Not necessarily bombs. He'll get that 5, 7. Heineke can get you 3rd and 6. He can if the winning formula is if Gibson can get that 2nd and 5 after a 5-yard carry, Heineke can move the ball, and that's how we want to win the game there. So that's the offensive strategy. Defensively, we guys got to contain the big shots, and I think tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. Devontae Smith's just on the outside perspective, I can see some big play potential there. And it's funny. I'm not even being a hater. I didn't know much about Quez Watkins before talking to you guys all week, but apparently he's a big guy to kind of keep an eye out for too. So as long as we can keep the game close and limit those big plays, if we can focus on a run versus run game, I think that's what Washington wants. So basically, stopping the explosive play will be my 4th point there, and then 5. Getting home. If we can create pressure for Hurts and kind of prevent him from basically scrambling, being a big run threat, or Minshew, whatever it is. If we can if we can keep the game, keep the narrative in our way, where it's not explosive, where it's a nip and tuck kind of game. That's basically what we're looking for. That's my 5 things. Watkins TV. I'm looking forward to watching this guy. This guy's a beast, apparently. I'm not being a hater. I had no idea. I've heard of Rager before. I've heard of Devontae Smith, but I guess Watkins is explosive. I heard it's more of a catch a screen, kind of explode kind of guy. Is what I'm hearing about from you guys.
He's very good. He doesn't get that much looks, which for us, we always ask the question, what happened to Quez? Why isn't he being looked at? Why are plays not being called from him? Because that's what he is. He's a very explosive player. And the thing that we love about him the most is in the off season, he's working on his craft. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys who are constantly trying to get better. Yeah. So, hopefully, with these last 4 games, they give him more of a look. And going into next year, he improves.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. But, let me ask, what are your final game predictions? Let me get a score. What do you think the outcome is going to be?
Oh man, so I'm not a homer, so it's tough. It's I was basically going in on my Monday podcast when I was on with Joe Castro. We were talking. I said you guys are going to win 28-14. I thought you guys were going to win the game. That was when things were looking really dire, weren't looking too great. I'm getting more confident, but I don't feel 100% confident without my quarterback yet, right? So until I know who the hell my quarterback's going to be, I'm still going to tip the cap to you guys. And I think the NFC East, you throw the record at the window, you have no idea what the hell is going to happen. Right now, I think it's going to be 21-17. I think you guys are probably going to pull it out. It'd be devastating because we've been looking pretty good for a while now. I wish we can pull this game out, but it's been a crazy week on the Washington end, and it's been kind of messy. And maybe you guys come out with a little bit of fire and anger because you guys feel like you guys got slighted with the game moved back. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I'll give you guys the tip of the cap right now, but I'm excited about my defense coming back because we haven't our defense is probably the healthiest it's been over the past month. The only person we're really missing is Kendall Fuller, which is our cornerback of 1. But we have backups like Danny Johnson, who's been in our program for years. So I don't think it's going to be obviously going to take a little bit of a hit, but it's not going to be it's not going to be a big hole. I think having our lineman back is going to be big for us. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll just say this. We're going to be playing at the Link, so hopefully we send them Heineke bees back to their hive.
Okay.
Yeah. The bee fans to their Heineken hive. But yeah, I think we're going to open up the run game, and we're gonna get after Heineke or whoever your quarterback is gonna be. I hope so. That's what I would do. But like I said about Gannon, I'm not sure which game he's gonna bring.
He would be wise to. I mean, honestly, if he's scouting the Cowboys game,
yeah, you would think
he'd be like, dude, unleash the hounds. That's what I test it out. At least try it and see what happens. And if it's not coming home, then kind of pull back. But I would go after. I'll send it out. He should be doing that. If he doesn't do that, I'm gonna hit you guys up. Like, I understand why Gannon's not a good defensive coordinator. We'll talk about that next week. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
I can pretty much guarantee you he won't do that. Like I said, that for whatever reason, like I said, his biggest issue is don't give up the big play.
Yeah.
And listen, when I talk about it, I'm one of the guys that are kind of down on Fletcher Cox for the past 3 seasons. He has not performed at the level that he should be playing. For us, the fan base, they give him 1,001 excuses. They're like, well, he takes double teams. Oh yeah, I know. Well, they'll say he gets double teams, but when you actually look at the tape and he's getting double teams, it's the slowest time that I've ever seen any defensive lineman get up. It's kind of like when you're sitting on the couch and your wife asks you for something, you don't want to do it, but you just get up anyway. That same attitude. That's for me, like I feel like it's time. We got to wash our hands with Fletcher Cox. Let him go on his way. But
he got even worse after he got paid.
He's like he's like Ryan Kerrigan for us. You guys kind of took one of our guys. I know. I'm saying like Ryan Kerrigan was like our fan favorite, and you guys we could kind of tell he was kind of washed, and then like you guys got him. I was like, man, I hope he doesn't come to play like angry against Washington this week. We'll see what's up. I don't know.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's what we all expected that Ryan Kerrigan was going to make this defense nasty. Especially when he played against the Eagles. He was chipping guys, getting on their nerves, trying to get physical with them. We haven't even. I think earlier in the season he played like a couple of games. But he's been pretty much silent the whole season. Like
we were hoping for him to be another long. You know what I mean?
He's a goody-goody. Like, so Ryan Kerrigan's kind of like a goody-goody, kind of like a rule follower. So he's probably in his own head. He's like, what am I doing here in Philadelphia? Like, he's on DC. But he's probably what's going on? He probably just feels like he's probably lonely right now. So I don't know. That's probably how he feels.
Watch him show up to this game.
That'd be devastating. I tweeted it the other day. I was like, man, like no one's talking about it. And everyone's like, oh, like he doesn't even exist anymore. Like watch him 3 sacks. We'll see what the hell happens this week. But
hopefully that sounds great. I hope. Well, let me get your final score prediction.
Oh, so I said it, man. 17-14. I thought. 21-17 is what I finally said. 21-17. 21-17. I think it's gonna be like. I think it's gonna be a close game. Throughout the game, or you guys might get up early. And one thing I do want to say is, we might get punched in the mouth because our team's kind of underhanded, but we are a Ron Rivera coach team, as we talked about. We're not going to give up. So I think you might get up 21-10, 21, whatever it is, but I think we'll fight to the end, all 4 quarters. So hopefully we can pull it out. I'd be really happy if we did. I'm sure you guys would feel the other way about that, but we'll see what happens. I want it to be a nice little, I just want a good game, and that's why I'm happy. I'm happy we moved it to Tuesday. I'm excited about that. It'd be cool.
Definitely. Listen, man, we're at an hour. I just want to say on behalf of myself and JerryLee, listen, I want to say thank you, George, for coming through, our premiere episode. You came through in the clutch. You came in with great content, my guy. I always loved your takes. Like I said before, I saw you on JC's live, and I love what you had to say. I hope, when we go against you again, you're able to come back on. We can discuss this. We can, do this all over again.
I love it, man. I love talking shop all day long. If you ever come down to DC, man, if you ever watch the game, I won't be a jerk about it. We can grab a beer together, man. So hit me up anytime. I'm here.
All right, George. Thanks, man.
No problem, man.
Yeah, man. And that's something I want you to let all your friends know. The rest of the fans. Not all Eagles fans are asses.
I'm learning that. I'm learning that this week, which is actually pretty nice.
Especially
coming into this week, I was like, dude, the Cowboys are the absolute worst team in the NFL, but the Eagles fans are probably the worst. But you know what? Like, you guys got some good people, and I met I know Joe Castro from last year, so he and I are pretty cool, and I'm getting to know you guys a little more. So yeah, a bunch of good people out here. So happy to be here.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, when you see our crew, like I said, we have a couple of guys, we have a crew. We're close, we're tight knit, we're all respectful. We even got a guy, a Giants fan in there, Joel. He's our guy, he's the GOAT. It doesn't matter who you root for. When it comes to the game, yeah, we'll smack talk, but it's all respect, it's all love at the end of the day. But like I said, man, I appreciate you so much for coming through. Thank you for being our first guest on the Big Ticket. Like I said, I hope you can come back. To everybody out there, man, appreciate y'all for watching. Appreciate y'all for coming through for our first show. My guy, George, let them know where they can find you.
Cool, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. So, guys, thank you for having me, especially on your first show. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that, guys. So that's awesome. So I'm George Carmi. You can find me at gcarmi21 at on Twitter. I'm the managing editor of Full Press Coverage, so I write for them as well and also do a pod for them. So you guys should jump on mine one time. I'm at FBC_WSH for Washington. I host a Full Press Washington podcast. So come on anytime and look out for me on Twitter. We'll have some good conversations. So thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, definitely. Anytime you want, you already got my DM. Just hit me up. I'll be there, my guy.
Sounds good.
All right, man. JerryLee, my guy. Have a good night. Have a good night.
Yep, cool. You guys take care.
Peace, guys.
So JerryLee, let me know. It's just us now. First show. I think we hit it off pretty well.
Yeah,
I think
it was good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it again, like I said, every Saturday. Times may vary depending on our guests, but that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna discuss, the game, the week of the game. We're gonna talk with that opposing fan. We're gonna get into their head. We're not gonna talk much about Eagles because we're always hearing about Eagles. We're gonna get the other side's perspective on this show. So, again, I appreciate everyone for coming through. For my guy Jerry, for myself, Vick3. Before we go, Jerry, let them know where they can find you.
Backyard Birds Podcast, Backyard Bird PC on Twitter. That's me.
Hey, man, and like I always say, you know who it is. It's Vick3. You see me in the chats. You see me on Twitter. You see me with my guys, always supporting great content. I'm out here trying to put out great content with my guys. So hopefully you can come through, subscribe, tune in again. Like I said, every Saturday. It's the big ticket, baby. Thank you for coming through. I am Vick3. You can find me on Twitter at I am your host, Vick3. Jerry is Backyard Birds Podcast. And thank you for a great show and have a good night, everybody. Fly, Eagles, fly.